Poorly written objectives and key results can cause confusion for your people and result in lackluster outcomes for your customers. Today, I want to show you an approach that creates objectives and key results that will have a radical impact for your people and your customers and your business. Hi, my name's Newbold, Director of Strategy with Skillfire. We help bold companies achieve the incredible by setting audacious goals and creating high-impact teams. Today, I want to share with you some of the ways that we structure our objectives and key results to have maximum impact. In fact, we'll go as far to say that they have a radical impact. Let's start with the objective. The objective is about connecting our people with the why. It's about how do we achieve the bigger picture. It's what we want to achieve right now. Through that, we have these 6 points that make up our impact here around what that objective is. Let's start with the first, inspirational. It's got to inspire people. It's got to connect people to that bigger picture message. The next we look at is manageable outcomes. We've got to make sure that what we're talking about here is achievable. It can't be something that is like a vision statement or something that's just so far out there people can't grasp. We've got to make sure that it produces business value. Every objective needs to have some kind of impact that is going to create long-term value for the business. If it doesn't, it's not an objective. Action-oriented. OKRs are about killing off fuzzy thinking. And so our objectives and key results, and the objective in particular, needs to be focused on what is to be achieved and what is the action that sits behind it. It's got to be about radical change, maybe change within the business, maybe change on the product. It's about change. It's about moving the needle in a big way. And finally, it's got to be time-bound. We don't want this to carry on for an endless amount of time. We don't want to go from anywhere that far out that's going to make people think that it's not going to be achievable. That's why we say, depending on what sort of cadence you're setting, generally you'll be using a 3-month timeline for that. Possibly 6 months an objective might last for, but at the end of the day, it's going to have that focus for the near term. And all these together mean that we're taking a slice out of our strategy that links to our purpose and our mission, but is meaningful to our people. So, we know how to write an objective that has an impact, but what about the key results? Together, they'll have a radical impact. The key results are about the how. It's how we know we're getting there. How are we going to achieve that audacious objective? So we start with results-based. By being results-based, it means that we're actually achieving something. We're driving something forward, but it's not a tick box activity. It's not a deliverable. It's not an output. It's not about delivering a project or delivering a feature. It's about the result of delivering that feature. That's a critical part of key results. They're aligned. And by that we mean they create alignment within the organization. People can work together to achieve that outcome. And that's where you get a high impact from your objectives and key results, because that force of everyone working together is utterly unstoppable. Next we have directly measurable. This one I'm going to keep simple. It's got to be a metric. For a key result to be accurate and to be effective, it needs to be measurable. That draws me to my next point. It indicates progress. So not only is it something to be able to measure it, I need to be able to see that I'm progressing something, I'm improving, I'm building it, I'm driving that number forward. It's not something where I get to the end of the quarter and realize I've either hit the number or missed the number. It allows me to steer as I go throughout the time period that we're running this OKR. It needs to be challenging. So generally we say a key result at the success level is at about 70%. If you nail it 100%, you've set the bar way too low. You're sandbagging. If you get anything under 70%, you're either not trying hard enough or you're trying to push yourself too hard. Either way, this acts as a feedback loop so you can adjust and get the balance right. It needs to create clarity for accountability. We need to know who's responsible. Now, this will come in many different shapes and forms depending on how you're applying OKRs and how they're running within your business. But at the end of the day, we need to know who is accountable for something, because if everybody's accountable, no one is. Now, you can use constructs like team-based goals where people hold each other accountable, and that can work really well. But regardless, we know who is driving those numbers forward. Finally, they need to be a leading indicator. This can be really hard to do, and this is the one where people tend to struggle with it the most. The challenge with lagging indicators, things like profit and those kind of measures, it's really hard to know if you're making meaningful progress until very late in the quarter. If, however, you have a metric that's leading, that might be something like referral rate or customer satisfaction, you can change in how you do business. You can change your product and see an immediate benefit in that. And that can tell you whether you're heading down the right track or maybe you're heading down the wrong path and you need to change your approach. Okay, so you know how to write a high impact objective and key result, but it's a little bit hard to really imagine what this looks like without seeing an example. Well, I want to do one with a bit of a story. So this business, they're a startup. They've been running for a little while now and they've been growing by investment. They've had different people investing in them and that's how they've brought money in to build their runway. It's a very exciting time. They're now at a point where they're about to go profitable and secure their long-term position in the market. How do they do that? Well, the executive team has gone around talking to people around the business to understand what does everyone think is most important right now, and also understand what are some of the measures that we could use to really understand, are we heading in the right direction in advance rather than getting to the end of the quarter and having to look back on whether we got it right or not. Here, they come up with a very clear objective. Secure our future by becoming profitable. Short, sharp, high impact. With the right messaging behind that and the right framing, this is something that's going to connect with people because they know the life of a startup and now is the time to make an impact and take their rightful position in the market. So that objective, that's the what we want to achieve. How do we know we're getting there? Well, this is where the executive team came up with some high impact measures that they could track that would help them understand if they're heading down the right path. These measures are radical. First, they wanted to see an increase on the referral rate from 45 to 70%. Now, this is important because they know if their customers are happy and they're getting engaged with the product, they're going to want to tell others about it. So this is all about how we can improve the product and the service that we offer to these clients. The second one takes a little bit of a different twist. It's how do we support and enable our customers? The idea being that we want to solve the problem for them for the first time that they call. Now, sometimes that means that they're going to have to really provide that additional support, and what we don't want them to do is to close cases early. So there's a balancing metric in there saying that the average support request rate doesn't change. We don't want to see more people having to request as their cases have been closed off early. Finally, we want to increase the marketing qualified leads that are closed from a sales perspective from 40% to 60%. Now, this metric is interesting because although sales is a lagging indicator by means of most businesses, it's context dependent. So for this group, they know when they've got a qualified lead that's come in, they know that they can close that quite quickly. And so for them, that actually can help and act as a leading indicator. And that's how we create radical impact, objectives, and key results. With the business achieving all of these things, it's going to be hard for them not to really turn the dial on becoming profitable in this quarter. It is a stretch, and that is the intent. And if they don't get there, they can roll forward with this objective as well. They might tweak and change it for the next quarter. As long as it doesn't become a death march that's never ending, then we're okay to do that. Now, you're also going to notice here that we've also got how we're going to measure. That's not typically part of your key result, but it's important to understand how you're going to measure each of those key results. Coming into the start of the quarter, knowing what that is and knowing what your metrics are clearly, that gives you an advantage because you're going to have clarity across the organization around what is most important. Now, objectives and key results is really, really tricky, and we've covered a lot today. So what I've done is I've included in one of the comments below a link to our OKR cheat sheet. We've had heaps of great feedback from different people who have used this to run different OKR workshops. They've even embedded it in some of their own internal OKR training, which is awesome to hear. And I want you all to take it and use it. And my only ask is that you give us feedback and also just a bit of an indication, how could we make it better, even just one little bit. So I'm going to leave you with a question. Right now, how do you gauge high quality OKRs? And do you feel like the OKRs in your business are hitting the mark? If not, how would you change them? Pop a comment below.